So now we will discuss the weaknesses, issues or challenges with the functioning of NGOs. So we are going to discuss the challenges of the NGOs in their functionings, right? So what are the challenges? So we can say the first, misappropriations of funds. So as we know that they have been helping hand to the government in implementations of the plans, and also they have been linked knowing the government about the people's aspirations. So functioning at the lowest or the grassroots level, they will be requiring an fund. So NGOs are been having a various sources of funds. The government also provides them fund from the national resources, or we can say that insider they have a fund in the nations, they have a fund. They also get fund from the international organizations, or they have an international donor from which they get fund. So the funding is not more issues, the issues is with misappropriation of that fund. It means they are not maintaining the records, they are not being transparency in the expenditures, they are not giving the records to the government from which source they are getting the fund, what funds and all. So first is misappropriation of funds is a major challenges with the NGOs. It's clear? The second challenge is external issues of fundings. External sources of funding to the NGOs has not been cleared from which source they are getting, because this external sources of funding many times has been considered as that the inside the countries many people who channelize their black money through the NGOs to make it a white money, reroute the money from this section. So this is the main issues, that which sources they have been getting external forces, or you can say that funding from the external source. Next, non-accountable. They are not a government, right? They are working voluntarily. So you cannot move, you cannot held accountable. So they are not accountable. If they are, suppose they have taken any project, in between they left, so they have been non-accountable. They are not transparent in their functioning, not making available the all documents related to auditing to the fund related funds, and they are not democratic functioning, so they are undemocratic functionings. So it is an voluntarily, it is up to the peoples to how they can functions, whether they can take an sometimes the voluntarily who functions with the NGOs, they work for the very less amount of payment for larger number of hours. So undemocratic functions. Clear? Then money laundering, as I said, it is sometimes the NGO becomes a channel for money launderings. Hawala. Do you know the hawala? Right? So sometimes this NGOs become a case, a good studies for this hawalas, money laundering, rerouting the black money into the country from NGOs in the name of social services. So this is one of the challenge with this. Lack of transparency in the functioning, in funding. So these are the challenges which the NGOs are facing in the at all level, we can say, not in the only in the nations but at the international level also. It's clear? So chale, let's write down challenges of the NGOs or challenges in functioning of NGOs. First is misappropriation of funds. 1, 2, 3 lines we can write for each of this challenge issues. The first is misappropriation of funds. Massive amount of money flows into NGOs. This requires accountability and transparency in its functioning, which are key for operational efficiencies. Which are key for operational efficiency. Full stop. Change the para. Many NGOs don't have sophisticated finance and legal team, professional finance and legal team, nor do they have the funds to conduct audit. So this is misappropriation of, nor do they have funds to conduct audit. Second is the external issue of funding. External issues of funding. According to government data, a total of 3068 NGOs, a total of 3068 NGOs, total of 3068 NGOs, CSET बहुत बड़ा पेपर है प्रीलिम्स में, received foreign funding above rupees 22,000 crores. CR लिखे, not write down all, 22,000 and CR, that is crore. Full stop. It is often said that foreign funded NGOs, try to propagate the foreign propaganda to stall development, to halt, stall, 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 or hold the developmental projects. Stall or hold the developmental project. Can we name any developmental project which has been a victim of foreign funding? Kudankulam reactor, do you know? Kudankulam project. Kudankulam project सुना आपने? India's projects. It's a nuclear project. Kudankulam. हाँ. So that it is said that NGOs, foreign funding NGOs, the NGOs which have been funded by the foreign entities, they have been taking a propaganda that India should not develop its own reactor to stall. So this is an allegation on that external funding helping the spread the propaganda of outsiders to install the development or to hold the developmental in India. It's clear? Next. Next issue is non-accountable, non-transparent, undemocratic functioning. Non-accountable, non-transparent, undemocratic functioning. Write down. Central Board of Investigation, CBI, CBI records filed in the Supreme Court shows that only 10% of registered NGOs, under Societies Registration Act files annual financial statement. Annual financial statements means ITR. They are filing ITR only. Out of the total, only 10% of NGOs are filing the ITR, letting the government know about their expenses. This is a government data which has been filed in Supreme Court. Continue the point. Some of the local and national NGOs have been found involved in malpractices and acting irresponsibly, malpractices and acting irresponsibly and thus undermining the credibility of, and thus THUS, thus undermining the credibility of civil society. Next is money laundering. Corrupt NGOs that receives foreign funds may serve as conducive for money laundering. CONDUITS, conduits for money laundering, not conducive, conduits for money laundering, or example for money laundering. The last issue is lack of transparency. In the functioning of a larger proportion, of NGOs leads to the aversion, aversion of donating funds for charitable cause, since the general public is largely cynical about cynical about their genuineness of non-profit spirit of the sector. Cynical about the genuineness of the non-profit spirit of the sector. Non-profit spirit of the sector. So this is lack of transparency. So these are the issues with the lack of transparency in the functioning of a large proportion of NGOs leads to aversion in donating funds for charitable cause, since the general public is largely cynical about the genuineness of non-profit spirit of the sectors. So this is the